Доброго дня, шановні колеги.
Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. Today in the UCMC we continue the project Diplomacy Without Borders. Today we have the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine to Poland, Andriy Deshchytsya. Good afternoon, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you for finding time. Good afternoon. First of all, please tell us what is the current work of the Embassy of Ukraine in Poland, and what are the projects that you are working on? You have just called in time when we are preparing the visit of the President of Ukraine, Poroshenko, to Poland, which is planned for this Friday. This visit, first of all, is dedicated to the 25th anniversary of recognition by Poland of the independence of Ukraine and establishing the diplomatic relations. It's 25th anniversary of diplomatic relations between two countries. But besides that, this is the official visit, and there will be the negotiations with the President, with the Prime Minister, with the speakers of the Parliament, and participation in the conference, which is dedicated to the 25th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Ukraine and Poland. So this is the main direction of work of the embassy for the nearest 2 days at least. But besides that, we are working on implementing some other projects. There have been some agreements achieved in the result of some previous meetings or visits. And besides the visit of the President on Friday, on Saturday in Lviv, there will be a meeting of Interparliamentary Ukrainian-Polish Assembly headed by the Deputy Heads of Parliaments. And that is also a very important event, because it is important for us to cooperate, to have cooperation not just at the level of the presidents and governments, but at the level of the parliaments as well. In the nearest days, tomorrow, we will have very interesting things happening in Warsaw, the conference dedicated to commemorating the memory of Holodomor victims, and that is organized by same Polish Parliament with the participation of Ukrainian embassy representatives and experts, and also awarding the awards. One of the prize winners of the award, which annually is awarded for the active activity in promoting some country. These are the Ukrainian and Polish experts who will be receiving these awards. But before that's announced officially, I will not tell you who they are. So this is what the embassy is doing now. And that's interesting. Yeah, we are very busy. But that's what's happening in Warsaw. Besides that, we have the General Consulate in Krakow, Lublin, and Gdańsk, and they also working very actively. And last week in Wrocław, the Center for Ukrainian Culture and Development was opened, and that was with the assistance of our General Consulate in Krakow and Wrocław, and the foundation Ukraine-Poland, which unites young Ukrainians who are studying in Poland now. Well, basically last week we had the Week of Ukrainian Culture in Gdańsk. It was organized by the Shakespeare Theatre in Gdańsk in cooperation with our General Consulate in Gdańsk. And they demonstrated wonderful Ukrainian arts including the play where Yevgeny Shuk was performing as an actor. But as the minister, he also had some meetings there in Poland. You mentioned that in Poland, one more center for Ukrainian culture and development was opened. Are you planning to open more centers like that? And to what extent such centers are popular? In Warsaw, we have the foundation, Ukrainian Information Center. And there's also Ukrainian House in Warsaw, which is also disseminating information and promotes culture. There is similar thing in Kraków and Lublin. We organize days of Ukraine in the center of Lublin. And in fact, there's a need to disseminate information about Ukraine. Though in Polish mass media, there's a lot of information about Ukraine. Polish media have their correspondents in Ukraine. Also, there are many Ukrainian journalists who cooperate with Polish media, and they draw attention to how important the Ukrainian element is. But I believe that we need more of such centers. They are to be more actively involved into cooperation with the embassy, which is official institution, and they needed to disseminate different cultural initiatives. Of course, there is a problem with funding, because all these initiatives are the initiatives of the civil society. These are initiatives of very active people, and they depend on whether the money will be found to finance a specific project or institution. I believe that for Ukraine in general, we need to have a very powerful information policy and channels. This could be Ukrainian Institute, or a very good example is Ukrainian Crisis Media Center. But in any case, this should be the state policy on disseminating information about Ukraine, which would promote Ukraine, encourage investments, will demonstrate modern Ukrainian culture, support Ukrainian students. During the last month, there were 2 initiative groups set up which want to unite, get Ukrainian students united. And according to official data, there are about 28,000 of Ukrainian students in Poland. There is such a need, but the biggest question is funding. There are attempts, there is activity, there are ideas, but when it comes to implementation, then we lack financing. You mentioned about genocide after this resolution of Sejm of recognition of Volyn's tragedy as a genocide and the film Volyn. Can we talk about complication of Ukrainian-Polish relations? First of all, that was the resolution of the Polish parliament to recognize the events in Volyn, tragic events in Volyn of 43-44 as the genocide. It could be qualified as political declaration, unilateral declaration, because Ukrainian MPs several times addressed via different channels at different levels to Polish colleagues to jointly pass a joint document which would give an assessment, evaluation to the events of this period of the Second World War, especially that not just Polish but Ukrainians, Jewish, Czechs who lived there were perished in during these events. And unfortunately, Polish MPs decided that they have enough substantiation which was provided by the Institute of National Memory of Poland, and they passed that resolution. Just as the film Volyn, it impacts the perception, it does impact the relations, because why should it be passed in the situation in which Ukraine is, especially because these events have never been fully explored and examined and studied, researched. But I am satisfied with the fact that Ukrainian MPs sent a good answer to this, replied to this resolution of the Polish Parliament. The resolution was passed, which was much more balanced, much more significant, and which has a strategic vision. And after this was passed, and after the head of the Verkhovna Rada, Mr. Parubi, visited Poland after his contacts with Polish colleagues, Marszałka Kaczynski, they managed to pass a joint document on the beginning of the Second World War, and that became the source of why military conflict started between Ukrainians and Polish, because the Second World War started
Пане Андрію, ви нас
як
чуєте?
це, банку Пандори, пачку Пандори.
which opened up the Pandora Boxx. And the signal is getting interrupted. You don't hear me, right? Yeah. In Lviv, there will be the meeting of Interparliamentary Assembly, Ukrainian Polish, and this is a good signal that we can find some grounds for communication, despite the fact that every party could have different approaches, different vision of the joint history pages, as is Volyn.
Poland is a strategic partner of Ukraine and a partner of Ukraine in the Euro integration process. What are the steps of the embassy in order to reinforce this direction? Despite the differences of historic character, Poland and Polish politicians and previous government and this government, they understand that Ukrainian and Polish cooperation is the basis for stability in the region and stability of each country, Ukraine and Poland, and even stability of Europe on the whole. That's why Poland wants to continue sanctions against Russia, and also they support territorial integrity of Ukraine, and they want the ratification of association and agreement, and Poland promotes these ideas and those principles in European institutions. And as we know from our colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Poland, they have heated debates with their partners from European Union because they want their counterparts to share this position. So this government and previous government and the current government, in the key issues, they have the same position and fully support Ukraine. In Poland, Russian special services carry out their activities. How does Poland fight this? How they counteract Russian propaganda? First, the present government react and counteract such pro-Russian propaganda, and they arrested several Polish politicians and who expressed some anti-Poland or they questioned the activity of some Polish institutions or decisions of Polish government or parliament. That's why they react on this, and they even start criminal proceedings against these individuals. So in Poland, there are a lot of publications about Russian policy concerning Poland and Russian policy concerning Ukraine, and also policy of Russia concerning Europe. And these publications are more objective, and they are a reliable source of information for Polish audience. And the main messages to Polish society, they are brought in a correct manner. And such Russian channels as Russia Today, yes, they are present in Polish media, but I doubt that they are popular. I believe that the majority watch Polish channels because they highlight objectively the situation based on their sources and information provided by their journalists. But there are some activities of Russian special services. They try to interfere. And the example, this year and last year, there were some monuments destroyed in the cemeteries of some monuments were destroyed at the cemeteries, and those who do this, they even photo or videotape these actions and then put it on the internet and YouTube. And this can lead to the deterioration in the relationship if these actions are not stopped. That's why we address the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, with the address to stop these actions, to prevent them. We should first find those who are guilty and punish them, and then we should prevent those actions in the future, because this situation can lead, God forbid, to the reverse trend, the response, and then Polish monuments will be ruined. So that's why there is activity of Russian services that try to interfere in our relationship between Poland and Ukraine. And about NATO cooperation, what is the attitude of of Poland toward the agreement? So Poland is interested to increase the level of security in Poland, and they want to have the forces or detachments of NATO in the territory, and this agreement was reached, and there will be some military units of NATO, and I believe that the president and the government and the minister of defense, they take into account the threat posed by Russia, and they want to reinforce security and to reinforce military forces, and they introduced the territorial defense in Poland, and this shows that Poland has a serious attitude towards this threat and is getting ready to counteract such a threat from Russia, and being fully loyal to the principles of Washington Agreement and Fifth Article. They adhere to it fully. So in Poland, there are many Ukrainians who work there, but they do not have official registration. Are there any procedures for legalization of their work in Poland? I do not agree with you fully on this, that a lot of people work legally. I met a lot of Ukrainians, and I asked them, and they all are here on legal grounds, and maybe there is some percentage, maybe 5–10%, but here we have 1 million of Ukrainians in Poland. Maybe some of them do not have visas, but I doubt that. So sometimes people come here and they go. They have a work visa, and then they work for different enterprise or business, and not those terms that invited them in the first place. So maybe there is some sort of illegality in this, but this issue is regulated now because these people, they should just inform the migration service that they changed the employer. And there is a problem. So the issue is that there are long queues and a lot of people who address migration services of Poland. They address with the issues of changing the employer or the place of registration, and Polish migration services, they were not ready for this. And also the requests from the foreigners increased in number, and more than 50% to migration services were made by Ukrainians. And I ask our citizens that they should stay in Poland legally, they should be employed legally, and if they are staying here legally. There are all grounds in order to protect them. And they can do it themselves, and sometimes they do this. And as I've mentioned before, students want to get united in some students' unions, and they want to promote Ukraine and defend their own interest as well. Do you have questions? Maybe I have told everything to you. Yes, but now we will have a question. Sergei Malerchuk, Ukraine Crisis Media Center. Ambassador, I would like to ask, because the Prime Minister of Poland said that Poland accepted more than 1 million working migrants, and is this a precedent for local people? Maybe they believe that this interfere in, maybe it creates some tension at the social level. First, I would like to clarify this story about the terminology. Last year, we had discussions on how to call Ukrainians who come to Poland, because first they Polish officials used the term refugees towards Ukrainians who came here, and it's about 1 million Ukrainians who came to Poland. But they are not refugees, they are migrants, and now this term is used in the official papers by government and officials, and this is really so. And if we take into account the number of visas that were provided to Ukrainians, so maybe during these 2 years, I believe that about 1 million of Ukrainians are staying here. So a lot of people, and I feel it. For example, in the cafe where I want to drink coffee, Ukrainians work there as waiters. We organized a week together with diplomatic institutions of Poland. There was some fair in the Merit Hotel where catering was provided by Ukrainians, logistics was provided by Ukrainians, because this was a Ukrainian firm that provided such services. The firm that works in Poland, this is a Polish firm that hires Ukraine that work in Poland. So there are many people here from Ukraine, and maybe taking into account tolerance issues, no matter with whom I was talking, everyone says that they highly respect Ukrainians. They encounter the hairdressers, the construction workers, those who work in agriculture, also doctors. So everyone understands that Ukrainians who come to Poland, they take vacant positions. So some Polish people went abroad to Western countries, in Norway, in Britain, and Germany, in Ireland, and they work there because the pay is higher there. That's why Ukrainians come and take these vacant positions, and they feel good here. And they get pay that they cannot get in Ukraine. Whether there is social tension, we don't feel such big pressure, but of course, if more Ukrainians, for example, if there is million, there are some people among them who, for example, maybe there can be some minor incidents at workplace, but this is not a phenomenon. And as Polish said, they say that this supports the idea that Ukrainians and Polish people, they can coexist peacefully. And there is no big tension at social or national levels. Also, students say about it, they live and study together, they travel, they do a lot of activities together, and sometimes Polish students are more responsible on the whole and more active, and they want to get knowledge, and for this activity they get stipends, scholarships, and take these scholarships from Polish students, and this motivate Polish students to study more. But these are local examples, but there is no tension between Ukrainians who came here and Polish people. Thank you for your reply. Next question. Sergei Kutnyakov, Man Information Editor, Country of Success Movement. Andriy, the collegial opinion of the Polish journalists who were present during roundtable on Ukrainian and Polish issues. Colleagues from Poland, they feel the influence of Russian special services on the deputies of Polish Sejm who took part in a day of genocide issue.
Do you believe how can people of Ukraine influence the position of the legislative bodies of Poland so that they conduct investigations, all types of investigations as needed? And the journalists of Ukraine and Poland, they highly assess the position of the ruling party towards Ukraine, but to avoid such cases and maybe to make them responsible for. And one more, Volodymyr Vetrovich, with who I talked at the presentation of his book, of the book on Volyn tragedy, believes that the losses of Ukrainian and Polish sides are much less than the Polish side believes, and Ukrainians lost twice less than Polish during this tragedy. Can we believe that we have half of genocide and half of ethnocide if we lost 16,000 and Polish 30,000? And what are your proposals as to promoting the scientific research of this topic, the working group? Thank you. Thank you for your question. You're right. You even gave an answer yourself. We do believe to examine, to research that we need to work more. Historians, researchers, not just historians, but lawyers, experts who will be working on the issues of exhumation and reburying of the people who perished in Volyn. We need to do that to have an objective assessment of what had happened. We don't have a complete information, and that's clear because for so many years, in times of the Soviet Union, this information was not mentioned, and the sources and the original documents were either taken to Moscow or were destroyed. So we need to work hard. The historians, I mean, need to work hard to submit to politicians for the analysis of what happened. And I'm the supporter of the joint work between Ukrainians and Polish historians, so that it's not every side that presents its own position. They need to work together on same sources, same materials. As to the assistance of Ukrainian society in investigating the influence of Russian special services on Polish MPs. I believe the Ukrainian society, journalists or experts, if they have some information, they have to publish it. Poland is an open country where you can publish any documents, confirmations, and if these things were taking place, then we will draw attention of our Polish partners to that. But I believe that we need to pay more attention to the issue of cooperation at this stage. If we pay more attention to, if politicians pay more attention to history, then they will be paying less attention to the issues that we have now, the issues of security in the regions, European integration, conflict with Russia, implementation of energy projects between Poland and Ukraine, which are much more important for today and for the future. The history and historical aspect, we need to give the chance to historians to examine that and to submit it to politicians so that the decisions are made. And that would be great if this is done jointly. Thank you for your answer. We unfortunately don't have any much time left. Thank you for finding time to communicate with us, and we will be following the work and wonderful projects of the embassy. Thank you for attention, and this is the end. Thank you. I'm always happy to cooperate with the UCMC because I've got a long experience of cooperation with the UCMC. I hope that you will continue this work promoting the interests of Ukraine in Ukraine and abroad. Thank you.